This is a tutorial for starting your helicopter. Let's go. Starting by closing the door, ensuring that the grip is shut, turning on the main battery over here on our right control side. APU starts up when the main battery is on. This will keep you powered as long as you have fuel. You can see your fuel on this panel, powered on, check your fuel. Estimated time will depend on the situation your helicopter is in, but like this, even while using our displays, we can sit here for quite a long time, not really worrying about fuel. Now, going back to stats, which is the default it opens in, we can see our engine RPMs, rotor RPM, and our torque. We've got all of that here as well. We can turn on the less artificial. I mean, it feels very much like a display, but I suppose this is a physical model for in case the HUD powers down. You've still got your horizon there. We can start by powering up the left engine. You will see it start to gain RPM. We want our throttle in idle for this. Basically, during the flight, you will not be touching your throttle at all. Make sure your collective, controlling the pitch of the blades, is completely low so that you will not be gaining any lift. When we turn off the rotor brake, which we will do now, you'll notice the rotor starts spinning up and our torque lightly balances out. Once the light is off and no longer green, we can turn on the other engine and start spooling up the RPM of that, allowing the rotor to spin freely. Now for your flight controls, this is your cyclic. You will be using this to move the helicopter in all of these forms, although mainly the yaw is a very important input to worry about. You can see over there on the HUD that the yaw is centered. We can move that around. It will be the line, and we can use the joystick on top of our controller to move around our trim to counteract the imbalance generated by the increased torque from us moving the collective. We don't really have to do that for learning how to fly, as it's good to know how to do this just by adjusting your joystick. You can customize the position of it there. Under the options panel, you can set it to centered if you'll prefer that, or to the right. Centered is a bit hard to tell how much yaw you're putting in while you're looking this way and flying, because the relation of your controller being slightly sideways will make you kind of want to move like this, even though you should really be moving like that. That's the problem I found with it. It's way easier to just be able to roll by rolling and pitch by just doing everything from the wrist. Make sure your seat height is good. I like having the collective really low so that when this one is up high, you can do the combat maneuvering without having to have your controller up into your face. Yeah, just throttle up your throttle. Let the rotors get into the green zone here, and the torque will stabilize. Then we use the collective slowly, pulling up to increase the amount of lift we have, and putting in that torque imbalance you can see on the right on the HUD to stay nice and stable. Even though I kind of messed that up a bit, be alright. Now we can leave the collective. Never leave your cyclic unattended to turn up the gear. Amount of collective being represented in your going up or going down, their velocities respectively with the little pipper there. I don't know what the proper name for that is, that shows the exact direction you are going in, exactly where the helicopter will wound up. If you want to land, just put that slightly over the zone where you want to touch down, and you will go there. It's really that simple. You can see how much you're going up or down on the right with this little bar and the arrow representing you going up or down. This is very useful when you're cresting hills to shoot at targets, to make sure you can hover for your gunner to take a shot and then go back down and catch yourself. If you're not just going to use the autopilot. Talking of that, we've got autopilot here as an option. We can turn on hover and altitude hold. If we let go of our controls, which is kind of annoying and hard to do once you're trying to hold them to move your joysticks and use your tabs. But we can adjust our altitude here as well to let a gunner take a shot, for example, over there at that, and then we go back down once the missile has been fired, assuming that it's fire and forget, and hold for him. Makes everything as a pilot very easy to do that, and you're pretty safe. There's also a good way to get exactly into the altitude you want so that only your radar is peeking over. So we can see that our helicopter is pointing right over there at about 7 to 8 degrees. It's moving up and down a bit there. The radar is going to be sending out a beam, kind of like that, in front of us, and we can set the degrees up and down over here. So right now it's set pretty good. We can move it down more, and you'll see that as we progress the scan, we're going to get more of a floor. I'll do it extremely to show you what's up. So now we don't see anything over there because the top of that radar beam is now there somewhere, and all we're reading is it hitting the ground here around the airfield. If we move it up a tiny bit, then we'll start to hit these hangars, whereas everything over there is still too low. And then if you move it to -4, -6-ish, because we're pointing over there, so that's 0. And then we're gonna, it's a beam like this, so the center of the beam is at 0. We're gonna put the center of the beam at -6, which puts it right around there, and then we can see all of the houses. We can even increase the range and see that it lines up pretty well, allowing us to see everything up until those mountains, which you can recognize by them just, you know, the top of the radar beam isn't on them. If we move up the radar to -3, we can see that it's right around there where it cuts off. And if we put it to +2, we can see the entire mountain, and it cuts off where the peaks are. Moving it back down to -7. So let's say there's a tank, right? And he's driving over here between the houses, over there somewhere. He'll be coming up as soon as he comes out of this dark spot, which is behind the building again. He will become visible on radar because we'll see him. And then you can set this to SOI and use your joystick over here to target the tank, but it's better to let the gunner do that because, again, if the pilot does it, we are controlling our altitude, which we want to leave completely to our autopilot right here. Okay. Weapon systems for the gunner. Here's your gunnery tutorial. You can set your radar on the left, that's where I like to have it. Make sure to adjust the elevation. We already explained radar in the last video. Quickly. Yaws over here. What is that? Let's find out. Tabs, set it to head. Control with the right side joystick your zoom, and with the left side joystick you can control where it's pointing if it's on the display itself, but right now we're using our head. We're going to press in the right side joystick to get it to center right around the area where we want to be looking. Right now it's snapped directly onto a target, but normally we would use this to set it in the general area and then use our joystick again to maneuver it around and set it directly on the target. By the way, you can turn on your control hints in the options right here to help you figure it out. Zoom, look around, target 1. We got the distance right here to the target, and then we have the GPS send button there. This will be used for bunker busters, which we don't have equipped right now, but you would go to GPS and then select the appropriate target, and the missile will go for that one. Yes. Just set it to equipment. So right now we have AGM 145s. They are laser guided at the start of their flight path, and then the camera on there takes over, recognizing the target and going straight for it. These are automated. You have normal laser guided bombs or laser guided missiles, AGMs, that go directly for the target. If we hold down our mod switch towards the front of our controller, we can set the tilt of our weapons there. You can see where the missile will go is changing as the tilt of it gets adjusted. If we're doing a really long range shot like that, I want the tilt to be high. But other reasons for it to be all the way up there, if the helicopter's flying like this, very fast towards the target, you want to set your tilt high to adjust for that. If we're hovering and you want to shoot down at this city, you can put your tilt down to shoot down. Although, with a bit of up tilt is not a bad idea here, because you want the missile trajectory to have that ideal launch point into the curve that it's going to follow down onto the target. So you can imagine like how far is that, and then how much is that missile going to want to curve, and set it based on that. Or just try and adjust it like your life depends on it, to try and get a quick downward shot towards something that you see out of nowhere. But yeah, we can use the right stick here if we have the master arm, and the pilot doesn't. We're single player right now, so we have to switch the button instead of that. Mattering, master arm being orange will mean that it's controlled by the other player. If it's red, when you click it, if it's orange, it becomes red, and then it's yours, it will be orange for him. We can hold down our fire switch with the missile selected. Now it will move like that, but that is not actually changing the tilt of the missile. So remember to set it to where you want it beforehand, because it's not going to auto adjust as you do this. It's just going to show you where the missile is firing and where the target is that you're going to be launching at. You're going to hit the weapon switch button, which is also sort of a fire button, whilst you're holding the real fire button in order to get it to track the target like this. You fire 1, adjust, fire 2, adjust, fire 3, adjust, fire 4. They're now wiped out. Your pilot is going to know how many targets you were shooting at, and he's going to dive around and get you somewhere behind cover. Usually you would be cresting a ridge over there somewhere to do that. The boats. The boats. We know where they are, we know where our thing is. It's not really lost, so we can just set this as SOI and move it manually to target the boats. It's not that much slower than having to mess around with all this. You can also, actually in this case, it moves faster when you're zoomed out further. So it's kind of like creating this little curvature where you zoom out, move over, zoom in to really quickly switch targets. Lock the boat, get the correct weapon, fire, it's gone, don't have to worry about that boat anymore. Unless it's a laser guided, then you would want to keep doing this. If it's laser guided, you could also hold it here for an amount of time, fire another missile, and then switch targets once you see one splash. So once that missile comes in here and splashes that target, we can switch. Let's say we fired a second missile after 3 seconds from the first one with laser guideds. We can, distance between these two targets is minimum. If you want to go to the next target, it's a little further. So you would switch and then guide in the next missile. Distance between these targets is a little bigger, so when firing them, I would have waited like 4 seconds, 5 seconds on the second one, and then 3 seconds again on this one. So then this missile comes in, you see that hit, switch over, that hits, switch over, all your targets are destroyed. Doing this with a convoy that's on a road, it's like so easy. You're just fire, 1, 2, 3, fire, 1, 2, 3, fire, 1, 2, 3, fire, and then you switch to the different vehicles as it comes in, and the entire convoy disappears. Scarily easy. Yeah. So, what else we got? We got the Hydras and the gun. The gun, we can move it around with this. Target something within 3 kilometers. It's you're able to hit tanks and stuff. Like for example, the broadside of this barn. Just send out a burst. You'll see the helicopter move to recoil. 20% of that was right on the door. That's good. So if there's infantry, we can probably shoot up to like, let's say, up there. That's 3.6. Send out a short burst. See how they disperse. You can set it to daytime to really be able to track the rounds in properly. Yeah, so we got one direct on, which means if you're shooting at one dude, it's already gone. You don't really need to fire a lot of rounds. Like, I see a lot of people just doing this, making the entire helicopter tilt, everything, wasting like 70 rounds. You see those first ones? Yeah. I mean, it's definitely good saturation on target, but was it really necessary? I don't know. I don't know what SAS does. MFD brightness is pretty obvious. You want to worry about that with night vision. Turn it down. Same with this. Although with night vision, I don't really find that too bothersome if it's up high. Autopilot. You know, you can do heading AP or any of these. I've covered all the weapon systems already pretty much. I mean, you got Hydras, which just fire where you point them. You can, however, adjust the tilt. But it's mainly a weapon I would recommend you have your pilot use. So let's say turn this off, and then we have our Hydras here. I can't adjust the angle of them as the pilot, as far as I know. Oh no, wait, combat collective. Yeah, there we go. So adjust the height of that, send a couple out. It's pretty easy to aim, although I'm showing it badly. Say that shadow is a tank. So the little circle is where they're gonna hit, or where the next one's gonna hit. We're already out. Damn. Anyway, I think you get it. Gear's still down. Cool. I'll quickly show off taxiing, and then that'll be it for this basic flight tutorial. So you just touch down, basically like a plane. Now if you want to taxi, just keep your rotor going, have your collective all the way down, turn on the parking brake. You've got normal brakes like a plane here, with your brake wheel. You can see with the control hints. So yaws, go very slow in a helicopter. It's very easy to tip yourself over. Do not roll your cyclic. It will mess up the day. Turn that to save now. So yeah, you just slowly collective up. It's really in the lowest little bit of movement down there. You can pitch forward. If you want to gain a bit of speed, look out not to pitch forward too much for the gun to hit the ground. You don't want that. I like to sit around 8 kilometers an hour, or 8, whatever that is for a turn. Like up here, you can probably get away with 12, but once again it is just a little risky for it tipping over. Brake a bit for this sharper turn. Put us right on that pad right there.
Ground crew is ready to set you up.
Turn on the brake. Power this down. Back to idle. Wait a minute for that to start going down. Once it is in the yellow, you can turn on your rotor brake. You can do it before, but wouldn't be very good for the rotor, so we're not going to do that. APU should have been off when we took off. Once both engines are going, you can power down the APU, save some fuel, but it's a short flight. Just turn off your systems. Once your rotors snap back into place, you can fold them. Power this down. Really switch seats. Power all that down. That's powered down. Turn the engines off. Double check that they're both off. Gear's good. Main bat off. That's it. You can get out now. Enjoy your day.